Do you remember 15, 20 years ago, everyone in the Premier League used to be up in arms about diving, and now it's become much more widespread and much more accepted.
Yes,
Is there any
absolutely. Yeah.
is there any justification for it?
Um, I don't think so. Do you think so?
Why? Well, it allows teams like England to reach a Euros final. Everything's at stake. It gives people the chance to get there.
And then karma kicks in. But yeah, yeah. Well, look. I think we need to first take a step back. Diving is essentially a form of cheating. But more than that, first let's look at as an athlete, regardless of which sport you're in, you've agreed to a certain sportsmanship, right? Like there's certain rules you've agreed to, there's certain ethics and values of that sport that you've agreed to. This is regardless. You could be a darts player, but you have agreed that the darts board will be a certain layout and you're gonna use regulation darts or whatever. As a footballer specifically, you're living up, there's the spirit of the game, there's the legacy of the people before you, and then there is your again personal, I should be a certain standard, this is my personal ethics or morals. The last thing is, as a human being, diving is cheating, cheating is wrong, you should be, you know, ethical and have values and a backbone and stand up and play the game. And now I want to add here, by the way, I have no problem selling a legitimate foul. A little bit of like drama, natak here and there, I don't mind. Contact has been made. And if it's sold a little bit extra, Yenny, the camera is with you. When you watch the replays, you're clearly, oh, there was
You're
contact, but he went down.
you're
I'm
either
okay
all
with
in or
that.
you're not. You're
It's
either
this,
all in or you're not. Like,
no,
come
these
on.
telenovela ones, these crazy dives and the
I've
tumbles,
seen
this is ridiculous now. But if a guy's made contact and you go down, okay, cool, like that's fine. But don't like dive.
you
That's like,
well, isn't that diving in itself? I don't get that. For me, look, like this is what I'm trying to say, Like you get a little bit of contact and you go down. Like this has become the widespread norm in football.
and
But
I do, by the way, agree with you that there was, around the turn of the century, there was a push towards let's get diving out of here. There was that old school Roy Keane, Patrick Vieira. We don't dive around here. We don't do that here. Um,
hmm,
and then came the Ronaldos of the world, and diving became a thing, but
much
it
more
was stamped
widespread.
out after five to seven decent whatever years, Nani in the middle and stuff. It was sort of stamped out for a little bit, but of the recent past, I feel it's become a major in the EPL at least. It's become a thing, and I don't
Okay,
get
so
it.
that
We're all enabling it from the FA, the rule makers, on down to us, the fans, by not saying anything and being like, yeah, football is football. Sorry,
so
go
okay,
ahead.
so no, so then we can say that VAR is the one that's kind of enforced it then. Because that's what people thought, that VAR would come in and that it would stamp out diving. And the most recent example that we have in a professional match is Sterling versus Denmark. Would you constitute that as a dive? Do you think that was a legitimate penalty? First off, right at the start, you were just like, maybe it came back to bite them, but do you think it was legitimate enough for them to dive, him to dive?
No, I didn't think that was legitimate. I thought it was
But
a dive. It constitutes a dive
what's
because it was not legitimate contact. He sold 90% of it with 10% contact. What I'm talking about is more 60% contact and then 40% you can play it.
okay? So then, what you're saying is basically what Mourinho told Marcus Rashford: be a bit more smart in your penalties. Like he wasn't
Yes.
getting penalties, and Mourinho told him be a bit smarter about it. And then he started going down a bit easier about it. He started selling it. Though I seen him selling it quite a lot, to be fair.
And I may be wrong in this example, but I think Edison Cavani as well is very smart. Maybe I'm wrong statistically, but I feel he doesn't go down often, and when he does, it's a legitimate. There has been contact. Just throwing that out
Uh,
there.
well, look, Cavani, I think, is a little bit more old school. He's one of those old generations of players. I just think that when I look at it, I wanted to play devil's advocate there. I wanted to see why players go down, why it was enforced. And For me, it's one thing or the other, and I know it's at the discretion of the referee, but they just seem to be enforcing it over and over and over again. And even now, pundits are doing it more widespread. There's a little bit of contact. That's why he went down. What as at stake is the ethics of the game, like you mentioned. And I think that it's become very, very widespread. Now, I've heard all the justifications against it, and I've heard all the justifications for it. But do you think there are any solutions to diving?
The solution is in ultimately the solution is in the hands of governing bodies of football
What should they do?
who have not, well, you tell the referees that give less penalties. They do track all of these statistics on a referee basis. They do track all of these indicators: how many penalties were given, how many were not, how many were given to VAR, how many were overturned by VAR, la la la. So the first thing is, it does come from the FA and the UEFA and FIFA, that, and again, regional bodies, that they enforce a culture of not diving, where, that's where it comes from. And it starts, in this case, not at the bottom, not with the kids, like the little league 13-year-olds. They're
Yeah, who's
fine, they
sure?
play tough. It's those top tier that you're like, you guys are a joke. Like, we don't want to watch the drama, we want the sports. It's become more
It's a
WWF.
yeah, it's embarrassing though, isn't it? When you get right down into it, it is quite embarrassing. What like is there anything else? Because I have something that I think is a little bit controversial. What they should do.
It is embarrassing, by the way. I live in the US right now, and the stereotype, the cliche, the memes of a soccer player is, you like touch him and he goes flying. And then
Yeah.
they, sort of always juxtapose that with like NFL players who are like big and brawny and like tackling each other. So there is an image issue here, at least in the US, because of this thing. And when you like, if you bring your boy Vinny Jones here, for example,
Yeah.
tell me he's a, like, Bati boy or whatever. Like, tell me he's like thingy. He's a hard man. He's a tough guy. He's not gonna
Yeah.
fall. He's not a diver, right? What Americans would call diving, for example.
Yeah, he was it's the death of the tough man, really. There's you would never see Vinnie Jones go down. I think that's a very interesting point that you made, by the way. What impacts do you think this has had?
Well, like, that's ethics. This is a wider discussion, to be honest, because ethics in football has always been very questionable. You look at Henri with the handball against Ireland. Shout out Shea Given. Um,
Back to our first
you
one.
look at 1982, France versus Kuwait, where the Kuwaiti sheikh came from the stands and stopped the match and got a goal like disallowed, because the players had stopped playing. This is the players had
I
stopped playing
didn't
because
know that.
they had heard a whistle from the stands, not the ref. They stopped playing. The guy scored the goal. The Kuwaiti FA thing was a sheikh as well. He was in the stands. He came down, talked to the ref, did some like hoodoo hoodoo, and they got the goal just like off. And then France scored like 3 minutes later again, and it was like
Oh
4-1 or
God.
something. So I'm just saying, in general, ethics in football has always been an issue. We're going to look at, I think, the more spicy topic right now, feigning
Kane.
injury. We'll look at that one soon.
That's gonna be the one that we'll publish next week, so stay tuned for that one.
So now you said you have one out of the like.
I did. It comes from you actually. Like when you said that, it comes right from the top, right from the FA. And what they should do really is give it to the discretion of the referees, to stamp it out. The referees have been in the game for a very long time, so they know what diving is. They know when a player is making too much of a situation. So for a year, if you dive, red card. And I know that seems like a very harsh punishment, but when you think about it, if for a year, if you give players a red card for diving, and you can tell an obvious dive, like you can tell, for example, when Sterling went down, people could see all over the world that was a penalty. And if you really have an issue with that not being a penalty, have a judge of three referees majority rules is that a dive or not. For a whole year, you just stamp it out. If you
Very
dive, red
progressive.
card. It is. Look, it's so widespread. What can you do but really, really harsh punishments to stamp it out?
I would take it one step further and say they should review the match, rewatch it, and give these fines and penalties and even suspensions retroactively. That like maybe the on the field umpire fell
Yes,
for it, maybe the referee fell for it, but he watches it upon
3 game
replay and
ban.
he's like, "Bro, like I okay, I missed that one. It was quick, and you're a good actor. You're fast, bro. You're quick." Like,
Look, it could be a double. It could be both of them. Why not? Like, I think that's a very good solution. Anything you can to stamp it out of the game because it's so widespread now.
and that's sort of the ultimate solution is a zero tolerance policy from the top that's communicated clearly to the clubs to the point where coaches are once again coaching good crunching
Mm.
tackles as opposed to how to fall smartly.
Oh, I look, I kind of like that, and I think that's gonna segue into our next topic. So tune in for to that next week, which is when we make a distinction from diving and for feigning injury, which is what Barcelona and Madrid have perfected over the last decade. All to get so now I'm saying it, man. I've seen Busquets do it too much. All to get someone booked or sent off. Tune in next week for that. Let us know in the comments below what your thoughts are on this. Like and subscribe, guys, and we'll see you next time.